Hey everybody, Decent Eddie here. It's Wednesday, July 16, 2025. Right now my confident moneyline picks are sitting at 79%, and I'm at 64% on all WNBA picks this season. My goal is to help you make more informed decisions. While my data set focuses on moneyline picks, my analysis may also be useful for spread and over-under bets. Hey, remember, always check matchup and injury news about 20 minutes before tip-off, before you finalize your picks. It's pretty important, really important today. We'll get into that. Also, hey, if you want, leave me a like and a follow, leave a comment, hit the bell. This stuff that I do here is free and I'd appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get into today's games. Dream versus Sky. Sky get a danger pick with a .447 differential in their favor. My data says that it's a coin toss, friends. The market, as of my latest check, is in strong disagreement. We'll get into those reasons here, but they're putting the Dream as 8.5-point favorites, and they're implying an 80% chance of a win by Atlanta. The over-under for this is set at 157.5 points. The Dream, they're currently at 12-9 and 5th in the WNBA. I have hit some bumps lately. They're on a 2-game losing streak and have dropped 3 of their last 4, including a road loss to the Liberty. But the Liberty are really an excellent team. Their offense is a bit below average. Defensively, they're respectable. The cloud hanging over them right now is that Howard is out with a knee injury. Despite their recent struggles, the Dream have dominated the head-to-head against the Sky this season, winning both previous matchups by 18 and 13 points respectively. The Sky, they're sitting at 7-14, and they're 10th in the WNBA. They've lost 3 of the last 5, but did manage to split a recent back-to-back series against the Lynx. I mean, that's really impressive. They're average to below average across most of my data set, but they're dangerous rebounders. That said, the critical news I'm reading is Angel Reese is out for this game due to a leg injury. Ariel Atkins is also out as of late last night, according to the Sky's official release. Look, if these two are both out, whatever the data is on past performances for the Sky, which is the basis of what I do, may not matter much, and my Eddie differential for this matchup could be compromised severely. I have learned in my first time doing WNBA this year that even one injury can change the game more than most any other sport I've ever seen. This injury news is why the spread moved dramatically from an initial 2.5 points to the current 8.5 points, and it may have moved even still since I started doing this. And all that's in favor of the Dream. A 6-point swing in the market within 24 hours means the books smell blood in the water. Given that .447 differential in my data for the Sky anyway, which translated to a 51% win probability for the Sky, and the implied 80% win probability for the Dream by the books, this would normally be a fade on weak favorites against a spread play. It's not. The market has heavily adjusted for Chicago's injuries, with one of my rationales for doing this in the first place to be helpful for beginners and people that have had some bad luck. I recommend a no play against the spread on this game. For the total sitting at 157.5 points, you have both teams dealing with significant offensive injuries. While the Sky's defense struggles, the absence of so much firepower for both squads, particularly for Chicago, who lost or it might be losing their top 2 scorers, leads me to kind of lean towards the under 157.5 points. For the money line, my data says the Sky, the books say the Dream. No matter what, I have to take my number on the money line. I mean, that's just for tracking. But from me to you, this is a no play on the money line. All right, Phoenix, Mercury versus Minnesota Lynx is next up. The Mercury have a danger pick also with a .184 differential in their favor. That's a 51% win probability for the Phoenix by my data. Again, another coin toss. The market is in strong disagreement here as well, opening with the Lynx as 10.5-point favorites, and that's indicating an 85% chance for the Lynx to win. It shows a stark contrast to my numbers. Again, there's a reason for it. The over-under for this game is set at 158.5 points. Let's dive into why there's such discrepancy, okay? The Mercury, they're sitting at 15-6. That's respectable. They've been pretty hot lately. They've won 3 straight games, including a really gutsy 1-point victory on Monday. Their offense is stronger than dirt, and their defense is really solid. They beat the Lynx in the most recent matchup on the July 9th. However, this is where the wheels kind of fall off the data. The critical news for Phoenix is they've got a couple of injuries that are, they're both out, right? Lexi Held is also a game time decision, so they might have 3 strong players out. These are cornerstone scorers for the Mercury, and their absence is monumental. If all are out, I mean, oh boy, guys. I mean, ugh. The Lynx are arguably the best team in the WNBA right now. They're leading the league at 19-4. They are unbeaten at home. They've got a perfect record there. Their offense is potent. Their defense is dominant. And most importantly for today, they are healthy. Balanced, they do all the things. Give them my differential for the Mercury, which points to a danger pick for them at a 51% win probability when both teams are healthy, and the market's implied 85% win probability for the Lynx today. We would normally squarely put this in fade on the week favorites against the spread play also, just like the last one. However, just like in the Dream versus Sky game today, the confirmed absences for Phoenix are game changers. There is no historical data that can account for real-time stuff. And this is why I ask you to check injury reports before tip-off. Therefore, while my number technically suggests taking the Mercury against the spread, given the news, I am actually giving a cautious nod towards taking the Lynx at 10.5 against the spread. For the total set at 158.5 points, both teams boast high-powered offenses that typically average well into the 80s and both play at a good pace. While Phoenix's offense will take a hit with the injuries, the Lynx's offense is elite. There's no other word for it. And their average combined points are well over the total. So I'm leaning towards the over at 158.5 points. For the money line, my data says Mercury, but the market says Lynx. My data is 51% probability for Phoenix, makes this absolutely a no play in my opinion. You could take the Lynx, but there's not much value in it. All right, moving on, we've got Valkyries versus Storm. Storm get a danger pick as well with a 0.185 differential in their favor. My data says it's a coin toss just like the last one. The market has the Storm as 5.5 point favorites, implying a 71% chance to win for Seattle. The over-under for this contest is 157.5 points. The Valkyries are 10-11 right now. They're starting to struggle a little. They've lost 4 of the last 5, dropping their last 2, including a kind of a heartbreaker, 1-point loss to Phoenix on Monday. Offensively and defensively, they're a mixed bag, and overall, they hover around the middle of most of my data set. Crucially, the Valkyries have no significant injuries to report, and they're 2-0 against the Storm this season. They've also been a strong bet as underdogs, covering the spread in 12 of 18 games in that role this year. The Storm, they're sitting at 13-9. They've won 3 of their last 5, but they're coming off a disappointing home loss to the Mystics. Their offense is inconsistent. Their defense is very good. However, the Storm are battling some key injuries today. We've got 3 that are out. And, you know, I mean, that changes things. Like I said, against the spread, let's just say covering the spread may not be their focus. They've only covered about 37% of their games. Considering the market has Storm as 5.5 point favorites, while my data calls it a coin toss on the money line, when you factor in Seattle's key injuries and their poor against the spread home record, this sets up, a fade on the week favorite scenario. The Valkyries are healthy. They've owned this head-to-head matchup, and they are excellent against the spread underdogs. I recommend the Valkyries at 5.5 points against the spread. For the total sitting at 157.5 points, we have 2 teams with better than average defenses for the most part. Both teams also play at a relatively slower pace. The Storm are almost snail-like, actually. The Valkyries have a consistent trend of hitting the under this season. All signs point to a defensive battle, and my pick here is for the under at 157.5. For the money line, my data gives the Storm a 51% chance. The market is saying a 71% chance. Neither offense here is, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is for the money line, I'm going to take the Storm to track my data, but I really recommend this as a no play for you guys. Fever versus Liberty. Liberty get a decent Eddie confident pick with a 3.373 differential in their favor. That translates to a 71% win probability by my data on the money line. The market aligns with the Liberty being strong favorites, so setting them at 9.5 point favorites, and they're implying an 83% chance for the Liberty to win. The over-under for this game is 164.5 points. But remember, the Fever have weak legs, and they're coming into the game with a 2-game winning streak. But those weak legs matter, and there's some other stuff too if you haven't heard already. We're going to get to that. Their offense has been stronger recently, and their defense isn't bad. However, the most critical news is Caitlin Clark again. Reports indicate that there's a very real chance that she may not play due to re-aggravating her groin injury last night. This potential absence, coupled with the fatigue from a back-to-back game, is a huge blow to the Fever's output and playmaking. While it's true they somehow found ways to win without Caitlin Clark from time to time already this season, the Liberty isn't a team that you can just forget about and blow by. Speaking of the Liberty are also on a 2-game winning streak. They run a great offense. The defense is excellent. While the Liberty have their own injury concerns, most of their core players, they're still there and they're formidable. The market has the Liberty as 9.5-point favorites. While my model's differential of 3.373 would normally suggest this is a high spread and pending absence of Caitlin Clark and the Fever's weak legs from back-to-back, they're game changers here. Without Clark, the Fever could struggle significantly to keep pace with the Liberty's nightmare of an offense. I'm recommending taking the New York Liberty at 9.5 points against the spread. The over-under, 164.5 points. Both teams have high-scoring offenses, with the Liberty leading the league in points per game and fast break points. Even if Clark is sitting out for the Fever, the Liberty's offense is sometimes good enough to put up plenty of points. My lean here is on the over 164.5. For the money line, my data says Liberty. The books say Liberty. I'm recommending Liberty on the money line. Aces versus Wings wrap it up. Aces get a danger pick with a 1.079 differential. That indicates a 56 win probability by my data. The market has the Aces as 6-point favorites, and they're implying a 72% chance for the Aces to win. The over-under is set at a very high 170.5 points. The Aces recently snapped a 2-game skid with a high-scoring 104-102 win over the Valkyries. Aces have a record they probably shouldn't have given their roster. I'm sure they're disappointed with how things are going this season. However, a massive factor in this game is the presence of Wilson. She had a dominant 34 points and 16 rebounds in their last game, and crucially for this game, she did not play in the earlier season matchup against the Wings. The Wings, they're sitting at 6-16. They lost their last 3 games on a road trip with significant struggles. Their offense could be best described as poor. Their defense is arguably the worst in the league. Yes, even worse than the Suns, if you can believe that. They've been hurt by turnovers and struggle defending the paint. Wings also have a couple of injuries. The Aces are 6-point favorites. The Aces' dominant head-to-head record against the Wings, especially with Wilson in the lineup, coupled with Dallas's current challenges, make me kind of lean towards the favorites against the spread. Wilson alone can exploit the Wings' interior defense, which gave up 58 points in the paint to the Fever. I am recommending -6 against the spread for the Aces. The over-under is 170.5 points. Both teams struggle defensively, and the historical trend between these two seems overwhelmingly towards the over. The last matchup between these two went over 170.5, even without Wilson. With her back to exploit Dallas's poor defense, and the Wings generally being just poor in general, I see a lot of points. I'm recommending 170.5 points. The money line, my data says Aces, books say Aces. I'm taking Aces on the money line. Normally, with this small of a margin between these two teams, I'd call it a no play. But with Wilson back in and with the potential injuries on the Wings, it's almost an implied suboptimal pick, which isn't terrible. It's just not, heck yeah, you know? Nobody can blame me for taking Aces on the money line. I have to take them for my data anyway. So, all right. That's it. Here we are. Quick recap. Decent Eddie confident moneyline picks. We've got the Liberty. Decent Eddie suboptimal moneyline picks. We don't really have any, but it's kind of implied with the Aces, though. Danger moneyline picks. Storm, Mercury, Sky. For parlays, we all love parlays. As you know, I will include a confident pick in my parlays. We have one with the Liberty today. So if you put the Liberty in a 2-leg parlay with another wager between -400 to -450 odds, your win probability by the books is 67%. Add a 3rd leg into that, the odds between -400 and -450, your probability is reduced to 54%. I will always endorse up to a 3-leg parlay with odds between -400 and -450. If you do that, your win probability generally will remain over 50%. Regardless of what you decide to do, I'm never going to recommend more than a 3-leg parlay because of the risks of combined probabilities. Remember, don't spend more than 10% of your bankroll in total in a day across all your wagers. Never chase losses, and if you need help with a gambling problem, check my channel's description. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hey, if you found this helpful at all, hit like, subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment, get my picks before tip-off on the day of the games. You can follow me at Decent Eddie Picks on Instagram. You can look for me on Facebook, X, Decent Eddie Picks, PIX at the end. TikTok, decent.eddies.picks. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes I'll post updated team grades there. Last-minute thoughts if I have them. Hey, NFL's coming up soon. That's my bread and butter. I cannot tell you how excited I am about that happening really soon. But hey, we're still in the WNBA for me, so let's see what happens tonight. This is Decent Eddie signing off. Have an awesome day.